All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am drawing the absolute Superman. So I'm starting with my torso. I always start with my circle, my oval. And then I match that same length and go down and draw a cylinder. Now I add the appendages to that lower half of that cylinder because I divide that cylinder in half. So now I'm just using it like it is an action figure. Placing the shoulders in. Okay. Pulling that arm back. All right, that arm forward. Because I got the opposites going on. I got the opposite leg forward and the opposite arm forward. Now, putting in the shoulder blades. I'm sorry, collarbone. Shoulder blades in the back, collarbone in the front. I'm just trying to get a good feel of the outline. Animators deal with the outline. You want your silhouette, as they say, to be cool. So I'm getting a cool silhouette happening. Thigh muscle right here. Other thigh muscle. All right. Getting that calf down. Want this to be above. Be able to watch or look under the foot. So I had that foot like that. Now the other foot is in the back. At the end of the day, you're thinking to yourself, is this a cool pose? Or at least that's what I'm thinking. Abdominals, the love handles. So, is this a cool pose? Now I am putting in the shadow. I have decided that the light will be coming from one side and the shadow will be on the opposite side of the light. That's how it works. Rib cage. So I'm making all these thoughts and these decisions as I draw. And also understanding that I believe this suit is dark. Like a dark gray or black. I don't know which they'll call it. So crazy thing about this Superman that I'm drawing, I don't know if I've said this, but this is the absolute Superman, which is different from the regular Superman. So Ron Mac, how's it different? One is that he stayed on Krypton until he was a teenager. That's one thing about it. Another thing about it is that by him being on Krypton to that age, he knew his parents. He was raised by his parents. And when he came and got with the Kents, he was already well formed in his mind, his mentality, his outlook on life, his worldview. All of that had already been shaped. And one thing that was shaped was that the S on their chest was a symbol of the working class, blue collar. They were called the people of steel. So that whole man of steel thing was kind of turned on his head. His suit was made by his mother and had to power charge him or solar charge him. He had to recharge. And the suit is what did this. And the suit is called Soul. It's an AI. It's not like Venom, but it talks to him. And it repairs him. It monitors his power levels. It helps him. It does all that kind of stuff. It's even his fortress of solitude. So this is a very different Superman that we got going right now. So anyway, I'm doing these shadows on this calf muscle. Going down to the foot. Beneath the foot. Two things that I always think about. Is this a cool pose? And to some respect, is it realistic? Now, I know McFarlane, who is a master at how he drew Spider-Man in these crazy positions. Sometimes you consider that too. So it's not all about being realistic. Sometimes it's about what goes good with that character. So the thing about Superman is like a straight up character. When you think of Superman, Superman doesn't have to guard himself from attack because he's so powerful. Like he's gonna come straight forward, head on, not fearing any damage. Unlike Batman, who is gonna try to sneak up on you. He's not gonna try to outmuscle you. He's gonna try to outthink you. Whereas Superman is like, I don't have to outthink you. I can simply outpower you. So when you're an artist, you kind of think about that. These comic characters actually are acting on the page, and you have to figure out, how would this character act? Would this character be afraid? Would this character hold back or not want to be in the midst of something, or would they want to be in the mix, right? So the one thing about this Superman is his hair is kind of long and stringy, so it's not the short haired Superman that we're used to with the S in the front. This is more like a Superman that has long hair. So I'm adjusting this foot. I'm saying, okay, again, I'm asking, is this cool? Does it kind of work with the perspective of the way I'm drawing this? And now the fist, like, is that cool? Is that working? Is that right? Does that make sense? So I'm working this fist, trying to see what makes sense. And what's crazy is one little shift could make it make sense. So now this cape, which is crazy because at the end of the cape, it's like it evaporates or dusts out or something. Shield on the chest. Same space. Altered a little bit. So I'm looking at how this suit is designed, and it has this formation on it. I decided to kind of match the formation to the S on the chest. And since it's not round and it's at a diagonal, then these things are looking kind of different. I'm trying to get the sizing right. Build that thigh up. I'm looking. Everything is in connection to something else. Where's the knee? I think I've said this often. I redesigned the knee after observation. So I changed the foot. I had it looking up where you could see the bottom. Now I said I'm going to kind of turn it. It's kind of relaxed in there. Satisfied with that right now. So, hey, now it's time to ink it. My reference is over to the side, making sure that I draw the suit correctly, since it is a new suit, a different suit. And inking to me is a process of not just tracing, but of drawing and still making decisions. Inkers are people who are still making decisions for the art. So I'm really thinking about this arm and trying to figure out, okay, how I'm going to pull this back in space. Making sure the hand is feathered right and the fingers are feathered right, rather overlapping each other at an angle. Again, I'm concentrating on this silhouette, making sure the silhouette looks cool. If the silhouette looks cool, then it's going to be cool. The decisions were made during the penciling stage, however, it is still being redefined. I'm putting these muscles up in there. Okay. And this other hand down. Man, I looked at George Perez for hands. I looked at different people down through the years. John Byrne. And the way I draw hands now is a combination of all of them. I love those people I mentioned, but I also like J. Scott Campbell. Of course, the GOAT. And he's mentioned by Cho, I think is how you pronounce it, all the time. Neil Adams. He is the GOAT when it comes to hands, definitely. All right, so kind of doing what you call a halo. I do that halo around my characters, especially with suits that are sort of reflective, if you want to call it that. I've already established where I wanted the shadow to go, so I'm outlining the shadows now. And I'm looking, but I'm not drawing every line that's on there. It'll make more sense when I fill stuff in. There goes that halo on that arm. The top of that hand, the sleeve extends to the top of it. All right. Gotta have some mean looking eyebrows. Got to have that. Got to. Taking my time on this face right here. Normally I got a smaller pen, maybe a 3, size 3. Again, got that reflective light on that face. I feel like if I get the face good, I'm cool. Now I'm putting more little details in the hair. Because he has a big old head full of hair. This Superman. Almost reminiscent of the Superman from right before Superman got killed. The death of Superman. It's a little reflected light up under the chest. On his feathering and all that. Dave Finch is a master of this type of detail. However, I do it with much smaller lines, but it all kind of comes from that image school of rendering. And I remember I used to look at John Byrne and say, man, one thing I recognized was how his shading always was turned a certain way, but that's the natural way the hand moves. So yeah, like I'm doing this right here, how it's going up to that corner when I shade, that is the natural way the hand moves. All right. Bottom of the torso, bottom of the hip area. And what that does is give it life. I could darken it totally in. Just got a message. I could darken it totally in, but the thing is, it wouldn't um, give off the same energy. What happens when you only darken a portion in, it gives a much more vibrant energy to your piece than if you make it dark. If you make it totally dark, then it gives it a more graphic look to it. And so as an artist, I have to decide what I want. I think these thighs are Jim Lee, John Byrne-ish. Or maybe John Byrne-ish. And then I believe Jim Lee got it from John Byrne. I would say John Byrne was a prototype, definitely. So many artists talk about John Byrne and his influence on them. All right. Sort of this Kirby crackle. And if you're unfamiliar with the Kirby crackle, it's just dots at different sizes, different distances from each other. And Kirby's crackle normally is a lot bigger. And it normally dictates energy and has been kind of used as a energy shorthand for artists. He gets the credit for it. I don't know if he created it or not, but he definitely gets the credit for it. right, darkening that whole half of the thigh because the light source is on the opposite side. And I will say this, because artists make mistakes all the time. Actually, there should be a cast shadow probably over the midsection and then the other leg, especially since the leg that I'm shading now is higher. And when you look at where the light source is, you would say there should be a cast shadow, but I don't have one right there. Kirby crackle time. Trying to establish sort of a line and then kind of render out from that line with other crackle. I'm gonna crackle, crackle, pop. Snap, crackle, pop it. So this design is all right. It's different for Superman. I don't know if I would say it's my favorite or least favorite or where I would put it, but I will say it is different. It is definitely different. I do applaud DC for changing up stuff and Marvel or whoever changing up stuff every now and then. And even with that, every artist is going to kind of put their take on the new design. So this is my take on this new design. All right, I'm getting this collarbone. I said it right this time. And establishing the center. That's very important, making sure the center gives it that volume. Need that volume. And all of that, and you kind of can still see the center line. Ah, got a little cast shadow. A very small one. It should be over the leg as well, but yeah. Got to put the symbol in there, so they change this symbol up every now and then. So I'm looking at my reference, making sure that I put it in there right. Somebody hitting me up. And it's never all the way different, but it's always a little different. So the people recognize it as Superman. Now I'm about to get this hair down. I guess I took a water break or something. I don't know. Where are you, Ron Mac? Where are you, man? I was getting my paint brush pen. That's where the magic comes in, ladies and gentlemen. Gives you that calligraphy line. What is a calligraphy line? Meaning that it is not a consistent. It's not a consistent width all the way through. It varies, a varying width. Always great for the hair. Gives it a random, natural feel versus doing it with a pen. Being mindful of the light source. at that fold. I like, man. Putting the chin in, making it more defined. Calligraphy line, thick, thin. So the weight of this line will depend upon sometimes whether it's up top or below or whatever the case may be. That way it gives it a certain weight. And again, I'm using this as an opportunity to kind of edit what I have and say, okay, I may want to move something. This is a great opportunity for me to do that, if I want to or need to. And mainly with this, I'm doing the silhouette. This is the outline. And this is what gives it that finished look. In my mind, a lot of times feathering happens within the figure with the paintbrush. However, for the most part, my style, I don't necessarily do that unless it's a major muscle group. And if I have not rendered it already, then I may do it. Those little things matter to where you have the overlap of the calf into the foot. All right, got the glove or sleeve or whatever you want to call it, overlapping the hand. Now I got a nice little outline for my character, the silhouette. You can see what's going on. Thinks it gives it a real good finishing touch on it. Now I'm thinking in my mind, okay, what am I going to do now? To give me some little idea. Okay. I see. I decided to go ahead and make those square with the body and just do it round. Again, this is my take, so that's a much easier solution. I'm going to keep the diagonal happening on the rest of the suit. And just kind of round it up on the legs and the arms. And here we go. I don't know if this is metal or if this is a certain type of fabric. I don't know what this is. All right. This is it. Superman. Absolute.
Leron-McCadoo found joy in drawing superheroes, but he was an illiterate third grader. So suddenly his mother said she would not buy another comic book until he could read them. McAdoo rose above being afraid of words to getting paid for words. Now he uses words to get people Mctivated about their own superpower. He drew strength from drawing. This is Comicbook Bold. To see his comic commissions and comic art, go to pinterest.com at that hip hop and select leron-mcadoo-art.